Para este inicio del bloque contaremos con la conferencia magistral titulada Bananos Inteligentes, The Greatest Banana Rebrand in History, a cargo del señor Peter Wellman. Peter es fundador de Man of the World, una agencia creativa donde con sede en Los Ángeles, con una fuerte presencia en América Latina. Su trabajo se sitúa en la intersección entre la cultura y la tecnología, ayudando a organizaciones a construir narrativas que lideran los mercados en lugar de seguirlos. Ha sido uno de los primeros en explorar cómo la inteligencia artificial generativa está transformando el marketing, siendo coautor de uno de los primeros artículos de VentureBeat sobre ChatGPT y estrategia de marca. Actualmente asesora startups de inteligencia artificial en storytelling, posicionamiento y estrategia go-to-market, explorando la nueva frontera creativa donde la narrativa se encuentra con la inteligencia artificial. Por favor, un aplauso para Peter, que nos va a estar acompañando durante 30 minutos.
Gracias. Do I click this through? Do I click this through? Do I click this through? I would like everybody to take a moment and listen. What is the banana telling you? No, really, in your everyday work, what conversations do you have with the banana, and what information do you get from it to accomplish your daily jobs? Well, I suppose it depends who in this audience we ask. Those of us in logistics, the banana's information is all about trucking schedules and packing manifests. For the agronomists in the room, the banana is all about plant and soil health. If you're in sales, the banana's information is a price point and a margin. And for the researchers in the room, the banana's information is all about genetics and lab reports. The problem is the banana isn't just having an individual conversation with each one of you. It's having all of these conversations together at the same time. We just hear what we need to, and we miss everything else because the banana is not having a narrow conversation. We are. However, for the first time in history, due to artificial intelligence, we can truly hear everything the banana is telling us. So welcome to the greatest rebrand in bananas history. Welcome to Bananos Inteligentes. While it may surprise many of you in this room, I'm not a banana farmer. I run a global marketing, branding, and technology agency based in Los Angeles, California. And over the last decade, at our agency, Man of the World, we've had the privilege of launching some of the most cutting-edge technology companies. And they've all been driven by one big force: artificial intelligence. And as many of you have noticed, over the last few years, large language models and generative AI, well, they're not just changing the businesses that we work with, they're changing our business and everything else faster than we have ever seen. And this is exactly why late last year, we were invited by Corbana to their San Pablo Farm and Research Center in Guapiles, Costa Rica. They asked us, Man of the World, to look around their farm and see where some of this artificial intelligence technology could make a meaningful impact on their business. So we packed our bags and went to Guapiles, Costa Rica, and we listened. We listened to Corbana's team, and of course, we listened to the banana. And what we discovered was something far more profound at Corbana than adding a piece of AI technology here or bolting on a piece of AI technology here. You see, Corbana was rich in data. And they also had a leadership team with a growth mindset that was looking to evolve their industry. You see, they were knocking on the door of transforming their business and your industry into the AI era. They just needed some guidance, and we were happy to give it. So as we go through today, I would like everybody in this room to keep 3 key things top of mind. First of all, I want you to see just how AI technology is evolving and reshaping the banana landscape. Second, I'd like everybody to think about their jobs. You see, large language models and generative AI, they're making all of our jobs more fluid than ever. Writers are becoming architects, marketers like us are becoming engineers, agronomists, we don't even have a name for what you're becoming yet, but hopefully we will. So think about your jobs, because with this technology, your jobs of yesterday and today are certainly not your jobs of tomorrow. And finally, don't worry, you don't have to go at it alone. We'll walk you through the methodologies that we use at Man of the World to enact lasting, impactful, and valuable digital transformation in your companies, as well as we'll show you the custom intelligence tools that we build. Not just how, but more important, why. Let's dive in. You know, the thing with mature industries like the banana is it's filled with incredible data. In fact, we were so impressed. We think the banana industry has some of the most data in the entire world. But here's the thing. It's not about how much data you have, it's how quickly you can turn that data into answers and actionable insights. This is the magic, and this is where businesses are made. So when we went to Guapiles, Costa Rica, to Corbanas San Pablo farm, we met with Corbanas' leadership team, their agronomists and their technologists. But more importantly, we followed the banana as it was picked from the tree, flew through the air, entered the packing facility, was weighed, sorted, washed, and packed for delivery. At the same time, we followed the movement of the banana data. Where was it being collected across this banana continuum, and where was it being stored? You see, we were always looking for 3 key things. What information do we wish we had that we didn't? What information do we wish we have sooner? And where was time being lost from turning that data into an actionable insight? And this was our aha moment. Because when we followed the data at Corbanas San Pablo farm in Guapiles, Costa Rica, we learned something very important. Well, they were collecting incredible and valuable data from real-time bunches coming into their factory to their powerful weather data being captured in Banaclima. All of this information was being stored in different places. So with information being stored in different places, that takes actually a pretty big amount of expertise and human capital to bring it together. And that's when we saw potential delays in answering questions. What information do we wish we had, and what information do we wish we had sooner? And finally, with information being stored in different databases, answers being delayed, well, this has a cost. It has a cost of solving the problems that we know we have today, but also looking at the opportunities that we could begin to solve tomorrow. We also discovered something else very critical at Corbanas farm, which I'm sure many of you in this room can identify with. So much of Corbanas' most important information and insights was stored in their best people. Take Rafa, who I'm sure we all know. We can actually give Rafa a quick round of applause. Rafa has over 3 decades of banana expertise pulsing through his veins. He's as close to what we have as a banana translator and banana whisperer. Now, Rafa, as an expert as he is and as prolific as he is, he only has so many hours in the day to share his expertise. Also, what happens when Rafa or the Rafas in your businesses retire? Well, we were at risk of losing their expertise along with it. So upon completing our investigation with Corbana, we understood the assignment. We saw the banana's data being stored in separate areas. We knew that information in Corbana's best team members were at risk of being lost. So we understood this was the moment that the banana was ready to enter its digital era, and this is when the digital banana was born. Now, I'd like to ask a question to the audience, and let's all be honest here. Who here has brought technology, powerful technology, into their businesses only to have it not be used and have it sit and rot on the shelf? Yeah. Well, not only are you in good company, but this is actually typical. You see, last year, MIT came out with a report that said 95% of AI pilots were failing in the enterprise. That's an astonishing number. Now, let me ask a second question. Outside of enterprise technology, who here is using large language models and generative AI every single day? Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, ChatGPT. Yeah, more hands. And again, this is typical, and you're all in very good company. Because that same report found out that despite what the enterprises had brought into their organization, their people, their workers, everybody was already using these tools. So that was the problem. You see, companies were miscalculating just how difficult it was even to bring the most powerful technology into their businesses, and they didn't ask their team, their employees, their people, what were the problems they had and what technology were they already using. And that often leads to selecting a powerful technology first and then going to look for a problem. And that is a sure path to failure. That's why we, over many years, created a digital transformation method so that you can enact lasting, impactful, and valuable technology into your companies. And that starts with getting your boots on the ground, starting an investigation in your own businesses, just like we did at Corbana. That means getting out of your boardrooms and going into your fields and talking with your people. What information do they wish they had? What information do they wish they had sooner? And where is time being lost? And I promise you, you'll receive valuable insights. Next, because we can't do everything, it's important to choose what problems do you want to solve. And in selecting those problems, a critical piece is to set goals. That way, from your employees all the way to your leadership, you've determined what success in your organization looks like. Next, this is when, and this is the part, you introduce AI technology to answer the questions you already have. And today, that doesn't mean buying an expensive SaaS solution off the shelf. That means actually being able to build the technology that you need custom for the problems and the data that you have. And finally, you have to ensure this creates a lasting impact. Get your team involved early so they know this technology is there to solve their problems and help their everyday work for their goals, as well as your clients outside your businesses, letting them know why you're introducing new technology to help them achieve their goals. And I promise you, this will have a great impact. So we understood at Corbana where the data was moving, and to bring it into the digital realm, that meant liberating the banana's data from itself. And this is when we created Bananos Inteligentes. Bananos Inteligentes is an intelligence platform that lives across Overtop Corbana's data. And this data includes yields, weather, rot, specifically Black Sigatoka, and spray information. And all of that data that used to live in separate areas were now together. And with Bananos Inteligentes over top, that meant that this intelligence system could actually query this data, understand it, and work with you to better understand the banana. So upon logging into Bananos Inteligentes, we understood from Corbana's team it was important to have this data visualized. Oftentimes, we're spending a lot of our days in spreadsheets and pouring through information. So a new way to see this data was to have it fully visualized and easy to toggle through weather, yield, or even years. But what's really happening, what's most important, is what's happening under the hood. Because if you remember those individual conversations we talked about at the beginning today, well, now everything could happen in context with other parts of the banana business. So weather patterns could be correlated to yield tracking in real time. Rot history could now, with all this data together and intelligence layers, could be mapped across seasons. Spray efficiency and efficacy could start to become more predictive. And soil health trends, well, you could start to get ahead of those and set everything up earlier. All of a sudden, those narrow conversations we had, well, we just opened the aperture to have wider ones. However, we do know that everybody still has things in their jobs and mandates that they must accomplish. So we understood it was important to give the Corbana team the ability to talk with this data, to really ask questions when they had them, to get the answers that they needed, but still have these answers more in context and correlated to the rest of the banana. And that's when we introduced Banana Chat, giving the ability to ask questions in your own natural language, with your own specific questions for your jobs, get the answers you need, but also get some insights that maybe you didn't even know were possible. I also mentioned goal setting as a very important part of enacting lasting and valuable digital transformation. So upon many conversations with Rafa's team, including with Jorge, we understood that Corbana puts out a lot of reports. I'm sure many people in this room benefit from these critical and valuable reports. But what we found out was that these reports were taking days to complete, sometimes almost a week. So what we did is we worked with Corbana's team specifically on their weather data. This data hits Corbana's inboxes on Monday. It takes their team a few days to put it together and enters the inboxes of clients, many in this room, towards the end of the week. Well, we wanted to change that. So we helped create these reports in a day. Now, instead of taking a week to create it, you could take a day to look over it and get it into all your hands sooner. What information do we wish we had sooner? Now, Corbana's team could spend the rest of the week looking into this data, speaking with their clients to understand the insights that they send, come up with better solutions together, and get ahead. This is 5 times faster. This is 5 times savings to reinvest in your company and into your clients. We knew that this was critical because it showed the Corbana team that this technology is there for them to accomplish their jobs every single day. However, it also has an effect all the way to the bottom line and makes CEOs like Marcial very happy. Hey, Marcial. And while we just showed you just a snippet of what's possible with an insights platform like Bananos Inteligentes, there's something way bigger at play when you bring data together and allow artificial intelligence to run over it. And we believe in the banana industry, there's no greater place to look than the nightmares of our industries, the cancers that keep us all up at night, like Black Sigatoka. Because with all of this data together, and systems like Bananos Inteligentes only getting smarter with more data that it receives, we can start to get even more predictive on weather patterns coming in, patterning them with historic data, and understanding not just when to spray, but what exactly. We also have seen this technology, generative AI, in areas like genomics and bioinformatics. These systems already in the most high-burden diseases are finding patterns and cures, and we feel that with artificial intelligence technology and all of the experts here in this room, we will mitigate Black Sigatoka until it's something that's small and manageable, and maybe even one day solve it so we can get on to the next. And this is something, as an industry, I think we can all celebrate together. So I think that's worth a round of applause. And if you're interested, we're not done yet. That's the pre-applause. And if you're interested in seeing just a small demonstration of Bananos Inteligentes, please feel free to scan or find me after. When we began today, I asked everybody to keep 3 things top of mind. You watched how AI is driving the most important rebrand, digital rebrand in the bananas history, and changing it for the future. I also told you to think about your jobs. Well, you saw the banana evolve from this beloved fruit of ours into a nonstop teammate. It now can surface information and you can hear everything it's telling you. So your job isn't what it once was, it's more powerful. And finally, we showed you the methodologies that we enact to ensure lasting, impactful, and valuable digital transformation in your organizations, and showed you the custom tools that we built to get there. So with the world changing faster than we've ever seen, well, as you saw, the banana today evolved because to keep up, well, it must. And with the banana changing, so too did your jobs and your businesses. So I have one final question, and my question is, will you as an industry honor the banana's legacy? Will you honor its legacy and protect the banana's future as well as all of yours, and answer the call to evolve with it? Muchísimas gracias por la vida. If you have any questions or would like to discuss, please, I would be honored to discuss it with you. Thank you very much.